Hello everybody, and welcome back to All the Mods 10. In the previous episode, we continued on our way towards making the Philosopher's Fuel, and we were finally able to craft it after getting through the bigger reactors mod, and now we are just one step closer towards making the All the Mods Star. In between episodes, I've just been working on gathering up the materials and everything that we needed to get the Vibranium Bees, so we have 2 of those now. I also upgraded the netherite pick that we had into an Aldemodium, then Vibranium pickaxe, and I've also upgraded my spellbook into the Vibranium version, which basically just means that we're going to be able to cast greater spells with it. Not that I've really been using it a whole lot recently, but it's definitely nice to have. In today's episode, I want to take a little bit of a step back and start working towards something that will help us in the future. And that means we're going to be going back into the Just Dire Things mod, and we're going to be messing around with time crystals a little bit. And basically what that will allow us to do is speed up certain items and blocks, making a few things not take as long, which should definitely save us a ton of time in the future. So if you're excited to mess around with the laws of the universe, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton and lets me know that you guys are interested in these videos. If you want to go one step further, why not consider becoming a channel member? It's the best way to support me directly, and you get access to all of these videos early. And now, without any further ado, let's jump back into the Just Dire Things mod. So the item that we're going to be crafting today is the Time Wand. It's going to be pretty simple to craft. We're just going to need ferrocore ingots, blaze gold ingots, but the one item that's going to be kind of trickier to make is the time crystal. To get started with making time crystals, we're going to need to craft a budding time crystal block. So what we're going to need to do is right click a budding amethyst with a shadow Plxgue, and that should turn it into the budding time crystal block. So I'm going to start off by finding an amethyst crystal here. And hopefully there are some budding blocks here. It looks like there is. And I'm just going to use the create method to actually pick this budding amethyst up. So we'll place our rail down, cart assembler, minecart. And we don't actually need glue for a single block, but then we just right click like that, and we can just pick it up with a wrench, or we should be able to. Alternatively, we could just use a cardboard box, or we should be able to. I guess that doesn't work either. Let's try it on a different one that doesn't have a crystal on it. Oh, interesting. Alright, so I just changed my create settings to allow amethyst pickup. If you want to do the same thing, you just click on this little goggle icon here, go to configure, gameplay settings, and then under, I think it was kinetics, then contraptions, then you just switch amethyst movement over to movable. I think it's on no pickup by default. So yeah, that should help you figure it out in the future. I think there are other ways to get it as well. For example, you can use the enchanting table with the exact amount of parameters here. You need 60 Eterna, 30% Quanta, and 50% Arcana, and that will allow you to convert a regular block of amethyst into a budding amethyst. And there are other ways to move it with the mod that we're about to be playing around with as well. But for now, I just kind of want to figure out where I want this machine to go. This is our current Just Dire Things area. I don't think I ever talked about this as well. This is just a decoration that I added to the side of the building. I guess it kind of looks like an explosion happened or something. Some sort of industrial leak. Anyway, though, I think I probably just want to go a floor above and just use this room instead. And we can probably just break down this wall here. So we kind of want to be a little mindful of where we place this, as it's going to be a little bit difficult to move in the future. Obviously, we can just pick it up with the create mod, but I think I want to place it right about here, and it'll be 1 block in the air. So let's place that down and get our minecart contraption there. And now that is permanently right there. So now with a shadow Plxgue, I believe this is actually a spreading recipe. So we'll need some skulk to right click onto the shadow Plxgue, and that should spread onto the budding amethyst, which unfortunately you can't see with shaders enabled, but as soon as you turn them off, you'll notice that it is spreading onto the amethyst. And that converts into our budding time crystal block. Now, the first thing you might notice about this is that there are blue particles being absorbed inside of it. After some time, it should actually absorb some of the energy from the dimension that we're inside of. So it'll have blue particles in the overworld, red in the nether, and I think purple in the end. So once it absorbs enough, you'll notice that it changes color. However, it's not going to begin to make time crystals quite yet, and that's because it does need to absorb the energy from the other dimensions. Meaning we're going to have to actually move it to one of those other dimensions. So the way that you're supposed to do this with this mod is not with the block breakers, because that will actually break the block, and similar to how we happened before, it will just break. So what we're going to need to use is the advanced swapper. This will allow you to basically swap the placement of two blocks. And by the way, we are going to need two of these, so just keep that in mind. Although we'll actually probably end up needing, I think, 6 in total, but for our demonstration right now, we'll just need 2 of these. So when you place this down, you'll notice that it has a pretty complicated interface here. Basically what we want to do right now though is just click render area, and that will show you the exact block or group of blocks, because the advanced swapper can move multiple blocks at a time. It'll show you the area that will be swapped to a different location. By default, this is looking pretty good. And now we'll need to craft a ferrocore wrench, which will basically allow us to save the location of this swapper. So we'll just go ahead and right click that. That binds it to this swapper, and then on this one, we'll right click again, and that should transfer over the location to this swapper. I'll get some gates down here and over here. That way these guys just have some power. And we'll also place some buttons for now, because these will need a redstone signal. So we go ahead and right click that, and it transfers it over to this swapper. If we right click that again, it will actually go back to the previous one. Because these two are bound, they can only be sent between the two of them. So now I'm just inside of the nether, and I just want to make a little area here that will be nice and safe for this to actually go. So I'll place the swapper back down there. I'll get a stone button and an ender gate there. And I don't know, okay. So this one is still bound, which is definitely good to know. Which means we can just simply transfer this block back and forth between dimensions. So yeah, like I said before, this will begin to actually absorb some of the nether's, I guess, power. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it's absorbing. Let me close this area off. So after just a couple of seconds, this will turn into sort of a reddish orange color now. And that simply just means that it has absorbed the nether's powers, I guess. So from the nether, of course, we're going to need to go into the end. So I'm just currently making a few more of these advanced swappers. And by the way, each of these costs about a block of netherite, so this recipe can get pretty expensive pretty quickly. And I definitely kind of regret not automating all of this with our AE system, because running back and forth here gets a little bit annoying. But we now have all 4, or all 6 I should say, of our advanced swappers. And so now the next step is going to be to add one more advanced swapper up above. Make sure that it is rendering over the correct area. And I'll give this one a gate, as well as a button as well. Here we go. And then before we head into the end, I will just right click it and bind the wrench to this one here. And I don't think I want to build this on the end island, just in case we summon the end dragon again. I don't want this entire thing to kind of explode, so I think I'm just going to go out over into the void. And there's actually a few floating blocks here, which is kind of weird. I've never seen this happen before. But that's actually kind of good, because we can just build a little platform here. And I'll just make sure to mark this out as a location on our map so I can remember where to return to. And I'll get a new advanced swapper down there and just simply right click it with our wrench. We'll give it some power as well as a button. Later we will be actually automating this as well, so we won't be using buttons. This is just for demonstration purposes. But we can go ahead and right click that and test, and yep, it is working now. So it'll begin to absorb, wow, that was pretty quick. It absorbs the end energy and turns into the final form of our budding time crystal, which means that we should see some time crystals actually appearing on this pretty soon. And in fact, I'm pretty sure we can actually use a growth accelerator on this, and that should speed it up some. I think we have to put it on, let's see here. If I put it on the back, like that, and then give it its own gate, I don't think it actually needs this much power, but it should begin to actually speed up the growth. Yep, you can see it pretty much instantly grew the ones here on the sides. And once it turns into the time crystal cluster like that, by the way, these will actually wear out. As you can see, the color has sort of dimmed. It also played a little sound that lets you know that it is worn out. But on top of here, we have our first time crystal cluster. We can go ahead and mine that, and that gives us our first time crystal. Unfortunately, there's no quests for these yet. I'm not sure if they're planning on adding it. There's no way of actually knowing how to do this in the mod pack as well. So yeah, huge shout out to Direwolf20, Chosen Architect, a few other people whose videos and guides I've had to watch in order to actually figure out how to do this. But now that we do have a time crystal, we can craft our first time wand. But in order to actually use the time wand, we're going to need time fluid. And this is going to be pretty easy if you've gotten into Just Dire Things before. We're going to need some polymorphic fluid, which we've crafted in the past, and then we simply just throw a time crystal inside. And that will make our time fluid. And by the way, while you're holding a time crystal, you will get some weird effects. Like, I think I'm really slow right now, although I think the effect just wore off. So it's probably safest to just keep it inside of our system for now. And I'm pretty sure this is polymorphic fluid right here. Yep, it is. Okay, perfect. So we don't even need to craft anymore. I'm just going to throw down some temporary blocks here, place our polymorphic fluid in the center, grab the time crystal back out, and throw it inside. So now what we do, I think we can just simply right click that, and that will fill our time wand with time fluid. It looks like it can hold 8 buckets worth. And I think probably the best way to test this time wand out is actually using it on our beehive. So I have the Allthemodium canvas beehive here. You'll notice that it is empty, but if we, I think it's shift right click, you can see we can accelerate it up to 16 times, for example, and that will last for about 30 seconds. And we should see this thing going pretty quickly as it produces more and more items. Yeah, it's producing a ton now. And that didn't consume a whole lot of time fluid either. So you can definitely get a lot of mileage out of just a little bit of time fluid. Accelerating this up to 128 times faster is going to make this machine completely broken as well. Yeah, that's going so fast. In fact, it's going so fast that our modular routers aren't even able to keep up with it. But it does go by pretty quickly here. And in total, we've only used about 150 time fluid. But I'm not completely satisfied with having to do this manually every time. Clicking a bunch of buttons in a row and waiting for everything to happen, that's just going to take way too much time. Time that would be way better suited doing other things. So now I kind of want to figure out how we can actually completely automate this. I think the first step for automating this, of course, is going to be placing down a couple more swappers here. We'll need one here. This will actually return it back to the overworld. Here we go, and just right click that with the wrench. And that will actually bring the time crystal block back here to the overworld. And another thing we're going to have to keep in mind is that in order for this to absorb energy from a dimension, it's actually going to need to be chunk loaded in each of the different dimensions. It's going to need to be chunk loaded in each of the different dimensions. Unfortunately, I've long since hit my force loaded chunk limit. And I don't think that there are any chunks here in the nether that I've already chunk loaded. Okay, so I think this is the command that we need to enter in order to get a few more force loaded chunks. So /ftb chunks admin. In order to enter the admin command, you do have to be an admin on your server. So I've just opened up the local port and enabled commands. So admin extra force load chunks. Tin starfish let's add 64, and I'm hoping that's all that we need. So now if we open up our claimed chunks, yeah, you can see in the bottom right, it does add 64, or the amount that you entered. So yeah, we can force load 89 chunks now. Hopefully that's enough. And I'm realizing that I kind of built this in a weird chunk here in the end. So what I might do is actually move it closer towards the center of a chunk. So in order to actually automate breaking the crystals, I'm going to use an advanced block breaker. And I'll place this off to the side. I want a little bit of room so that the crystals can actually grow. And instead of just breaking a single block, I actually want it to break I think it's going to be a 3x3. Let's see if that, nope. So one, I think should do, yep. And then we just need to move it probably that way. Yeah, I think that should do. And now I just want to set up a filter so that it only ever breaks the time crystal clusters. That way it won't break, say, the block itself. And I think we want to set this to an allow list. Wow, that was a loud sound. So if we now give this power, I don't want the time crystal here just yet. Okay, it looks like it is. And then if we hit deny, will that start breaking? Oh, wait, we need a pickaxe in here. That's right. I'm not entirely sure if fortune actually affects the time crystals, because I've only ever gotten one, even though I've been using my fortune 3 vibranium pickaxe. So I think I'll just use a regular Celestigem pickaxe here. All right, and I think I'm ready to bring the time crystal back here. By the way, you can also use a time wand on this, which is kind of funny. Oh, but it immediately broke. Okay, that's a little bit unfortunate. So we will have to send it back to the overworld. But we do know that the block breaker is working because it hasn't been breaking any of the other blocks. So that's good to know. Next up, I'm going to actually modify the area in which we're going to be teleporting everything. So I'm just going to break everything here for now. And we basically just want a 3x3x3 area surrounding the time crystal. And everything inside of that area will be teleported between dimensions. Basically, that will allow the crystals that grow on the side to be maintained. That way, if one of them grows halfway, for example, we can continue to grow it even after the bud has worn out. The next step is going to involve using an advanced sensor. So if we go ahead and place that just to the side here, we can show the area that's being rendered. So setting up the advanced sensor is a little bit weird. So how we want to do this is basically we place a budding time crystal block here in the filter. Then you right click the block and it will pull up this sort of little menu on the side. And from here you actually kind of want to select which stage that you want the block to sort of be detected in. Currently it's in stage 1, which is the overworld stage, which is when it's blue. So when we detect that it's in this blue stage, that means that it's done absorbing the energy from the overworld, which means that it can be sent to the next dimension. All right, so I've made a very professional looking graphic here just to help me sort of visualize exactly how I want each of the different areas to interact with each other. So if we just kind of follow this, if we follow the block, say it's in the overworld right now, we need to activate the bottom one, which will be linked to the top one in the nether. Once that's done, we need to activate the redstone in the bottom one, which links to the top one in the end. Once it's completed its transformation, we activate the redstone in the bottom. That will send it back into the overworld. In the overworld is where I want it to actually break the crystals that grow on the side. And I think that'll be just a little bit easier. That way we can automatically import it into our AE system. So with this graphic in mind, I'm going to go through and kind of figure out exactly all of these and link them up properly and get everything set up. Then we'll come back and kind of walk through the entire thing. All right, and I've spent a little bit of time just going through and configuring this and making sure that everything is working properly. And as far as I can tell, it is working as it should. So here in the overworld, you'll notice that it is actually breaking the crystals as soon as they grow. We have 4 of these growth accelerators from AE2 on this, which is actually making it grow extremely quickly. And to power those, as well as all of the machines in this like little system, we actually are using these energy transmitters, which are basically able to power all machines within, the radius that you give it. And by the way, whenever it runs out, it will teleport to the other dimensions, and it goes by really quickly. I'm not sure if it's supposed to do that, but I just know that the crystal accelerators, I think those are helping speed up this process by a lot. So if we go in here, you'll notice that we already have a little over a stack of these time crystals. Hello everybody, and welcome back to All the Mods 10. Wait, I think we've already done this part. I can see the past, the present, and the future. Maybe we should leave these crystals inside the chest for now. But now that we have some extra time crystals, we can go ahead and make some more of the time fluid. And if you have a partial fill on your time wand, it won't actually allow you to completely fill it up. So I just made an extra time fluid bucket, and we can just keep that inside of the system for now. And when we run out of time fluid in our time wand, we'll have a little bit of extra. And another thing that we can do now that we have time crystals is we can craft the upgrade instant break, which when added to our pickaxe will actually allow us to instantly break most blocks. It's not going to work on everything, but we just need a couple of netherite pickaxes for this. And we'll need an upgrade blank, and that should be everything that we need for the instant break upgrade. So now I believe we just go to the smithing table again and place our pickaxe and the upgrade instant break inside, and once we pull it out, we should be able to instantly break most things. Now I think this even works when we're flying. Yes, it does, which will definitely be very, very useful for us, as that's kind of one of the things that kind of holds me back with flying is the mining speed, but we don't even have to worry about that anymore. Now, an important thing to remember with this mod pack is there is obviously a bee spawn egg recipe for the time bees. It's going to involve getting into the other Just Dire Things bees as well. I personally don't think that this is going to be worth it for us as of right now. And that's simply because we already have the automation set up for the time crystals, and we're not going to need a ton of them. I mean, my wand is already full. I've used it a few times already now, and we've barely used any time fluid. There are a few other uses as well, but realistically, you're probably not going to use a ton of these in your playthrough. So for one of the items for the All the Mods star, we are going to need to make the paradox machine, which does require the time crystals as well as a time crystal block. So I think I might just build one of these in anticipation for creating the pulsating black hole. It really shouldn't be too bad. We have everything that we need for it. And I guess right next to our philosopher's fuel is probably a good place to start collecting our items for the, what was this one called? The pulsating black hole. It goes right there, and that is our first step towards the next step in the All the Mods star. Also, I'm realizing that somehow the insanite block disappeared from this frame drawer. I guess I just forgot to lock it, so I might have to make another one in the future. Probably not, though, honestly. But yeah, that's what's supposed to go in this drawer right here. Honestly, extreme reactors or bigger reactors, I don't remember what it's called now. It was kind of a pain to get through, especially with AE2 not really working too well with our fluids and stuff. So I don't know if I'll ever get back into doing this, but you know, if it ever comes up again, I'll craft another one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end things there for now. Sorry for the shorter episode, but a lot of what we've been doing recently is kind of grindy, and I've just been kind of wanting to cut out a lot of the grinding parts, as I don't feel like it's very entertaining just watching me placing blocks a bunch of times over and over and trying to configure a bunch of different machines. That is one thing about this mod pack, is that a lot of things are going to be grindy, especially now that I would say we're in the end game now. So these episodes overall might get a little bit shorter as I try to continue working towards the all the mods star and try to get some of the grindier bits out of the way as fast as possible. Yeah, I think I'm going to end things there for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.